this week. In a maths exam, one candidate struggles to remember if timesing makes things bigger or smaller. At the Labour conference, after Keir Starmer orders a patriotic rendition of the national anthem, John Prescott is less than happy about his part in the proceedings. And at the Olympic Park swimming pool, there's just time for one last symbolic event in the Festival of Brexit. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian who once worked as an investigator at the Serious Fraud Office, who currently have their hands full working out how the hell Kwasi Kwarteng got his PhD in economics. Please welcome Rialina! On Paul's team tonight is a journalist who hosts a live show on Times Radio, though, of course, we only have his word for that. Please welcome Matt Chorley. We begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Paul and Matt, have a look at this.
Yes, there's our Chancellor Exchequer moving in slow motion for some reason. There she is, always aware, with a little smile for the camera. Hello. There's a bunch of white men as usual, typical, just doing what they do best, and he's talking on the... Oh, I do beg your pardon. It's all, do you know what this is?
It's absolutely hilarious, is what it is.
Is it?
Well, the polls are very funny.
Yes.
The latest polls put the Tories 34 points behind the Labour Party.
34 points behind? What would that mean if there was a...
If there was a general election,
tomorrow,
the Conservative Party would consist of 3 people in Scotland.
Actually, if it were, Labour would be on course for a 492-seat majority.
And that's a Tory audience.
So yes, an economic downturn which has happened since Friday's mini-budget, which Rishi Sunak, during the Tory leadership contest, predicted would happen if Liz Truss won and followed through her policies.
Shall we have a look at Rishi? Here he is.
Your plans, your own economic advisor has said that would lead to mortgage rates, interest rates going up to 7%. Can you imagine what that's going to do for everyone here and everyone watching? That's thousands of pounds on their mortgage bill. So I don't think the responsible thing to do right now is launch into some unfunded spree of borrowing and more debt. That will just make inflation worse. It will make the problem longer.
It's almost like he knew what he was talking about.
We should start by saying something about the bond market. I have no idea how it works. Paul?
No, I don't know. I've actually got grade 5 CSE maths, which is the equivalent of 25 yards breaststroke.
That may well mean you're the next Chancellor.
You mentioned about Kwasi having a PhD in economics, which has come up before. No, he has a PhD in economic history. It's specifically about the great recoinage of 1696, okay? He doesn't know squat about what he's doing. And in case you're wondering, was that a financial success, the great recoinage of 1696? It was not. He has a PhD in failure. So...
I tell you, those of us who lived through that particular crisis...
Ian was the editor of Ye Private Eye.
Absolutely everybody else did say this is going to be a disaster. And the new Prime Minister, I mean, who knows if she'll be Prime Minister when this repeat goes out, but she did perfectly well. She fired her Chief Civil Service at the Treasury. She told everybody who disagreed with her, you're wrong, I'm right. And she said, let the market decide. And they did. I mean, it's an amazing record, isn't it? She's tanked the entire British economy in her first active working week.
Would you say it's looking like her honeymoon period is sort of a bit of a rough and rocky?
It's like she's gone on honeymoon to Florida.
Yes. Where Hurricane Ian.
Yes.
Hurricane Ian is coming. How dare you? Just can't leave things alone. Meteorologically speaking, you're causing havoc in Florida.
I'd like to apologise. I was hoping I would be light breeze here.
What did Liz Truss do on Thursday?
She went on BBC local radio, hoping that would be a nice, easy ride.
That's right,
I think she's an MP in Norfolk and she thinks that Alan Partridge is a real person. During the course of an hour, she was monstered by people having their 5 minutes of fame, knowing they never had to speak to her again because there'll be someone else quite soon. She couldn't cope with any of it. The first question was, what did you have for breakfast? And she said, I don't accept the premise.
Back to the beginning, how did it all start?
Boris Johnson had a party.
Yeah. Just the beginning of this week will do.
Beginning of this week? You remember the beginning of the week?
No, not beginning of the week.
Monday.
There was a run on the pound.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, it fell dramatically. It was almost equal to $1 at one point.
Yeah.
It was called levelling up.
Yes.
The Times called last Monday a day of turmoil. The Independent called it an all-time low. The Telegraph, pound chaos. The Daily Star had Honey, I Shrunk the Quids. The New European just went with this. What did Truss-Quart think
What's
would
it called?
have a trust quart.
Huh?
Like Brangelina.
Is it? No, if you put their names together, it suggests they're in agreement. Whereas I think the story now, Matt will know, is that they're now arguing.
Yeah, they had a bit of a row about what they should do and should they say anything.
Yes, decided not to.
Decided not to.
Yes.
And then they did, which confirmed their original decision was the correct one.
Who insulted Kwasi recently?
Well, there have been a lot of people having a lot of cheap fun with nicknames for him. I mean, someone called his whole strategy kamikaze. I thought that wasn't very funny.
No.
Other people saying, his strategy should be quasi-quatting, because that's where the economy's gone. Anyway, I don't approve of any of these jokes.
What did Lord Hannon on Conservative Home website say markets are panicking about?
This was an outrageous piece. Daniel Hannan claimed the reason the economy was tanking was all Keir Starmer's fault.
And a number of the newspapers said that the reason the pound was tanking was because of Remainers.
Yes, this is Kwasi's old hedge fund boss, Crispin Odey.
Crispin Odey, who's known in the business as Crispin Odious. And that's by his mates.
He said a lot of Remainers in the city hate this government and hate Kwasi as well. And they started this currency rout.
Which he then joined in on, betting against the pound and making yet another fortune, having bet against the referendum result. That's what he does. He just talks the country down and takes the money. Not even saying allegedly.
The government's going to punish these people.
Oh, yes.
By taking the cap off their bonuses.
Well,
When we had the bank crashes in 2008, the wealth gap widened. When the pandemic happened, the wealth gap widened. We don't see it ever working. And actually what we learned of the pandemic is that the people that keep the country going are our essential workers. We weren't clapping on a Thursday for hedge fund investors, were we?
You weren't clapping there for hedge fund investors.
what in fact is the government going to do about it?
Nothing?
Let's see how eloquently that is spelt out.
Do you have anything to say about what's going on, sir? Are you planning to reverse the announcement you made last Friday, sir? What do you have to say about everything that's been going on, sir?
Just get to my office now.
That was a 1-minute silence for the death of the pound.
He's supposed to be very clever, isn't he, Kwasi? Is that the problem? Should we be putting thick people in charge?
Ready when the call is there. One supporter already.
What was Jeremy Corbyn seen doing at the weekend in Liverpool?
He was on a game.
Yes, he was.
Was it like Kill Margaret Thatcher or something?
It was a video game called
No, it was.
Thatcher's Tech Base.
Yes.
According to the Mail, the game features a demonic version of Margaret Thatcher. There's a demonic version.
It's called Liz.
Keir Starmer was free to strut his stuff at the Labour Party conference. What was he promising?
All sorts.
Yes.
A great British energy company.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to invest in British green technology. It's going to focus on other environmental issues such as clean air, although they will have a problem selling that to the people of Bradford. Let's have a look at this.
When they create clean air, how do they keep it? Because when the wind blows, the clean air goes. That's what I want to know. How are they going to put a big dome over Bradford?
And he's got a point. Yes. I think he's right. He should be Chancellor. What else did Keir Starmer do extraordinarily at the...
Sing the national anthem.
They got him to sing the national anthem. That's right. They hired a professional singer to sing it. Let's have a look at this. It's lovely, this.
Centim victorious
They love singing. They love singing at Labour conferences. I interviewed Angela Rayner. She said she wanted to... She's a big fan of karaoke and likes to drink. She suggested when she next has to do Deputy Prime Minister's questions with Therese Coffey, she'd replace it with doing shots.
There's a brilliant new dynamic of Labour young bloods, though, isn't there? Like Wes Streeting.
Wes Streeting, yeah.
Very neat person. Let's just have a quick look at Wes. There he is. Now, speaking as a man who's truly blessed in the ear department, I can say Wes, he barely has an ear on him. Look at that. I hear you. No, you don't.
Is this the level that this programme has reached? A man, well, if he hasn't got any ears, who's to blame? Mr. Four Ears.
Yeah, okay.
That's Yeah, the trickle-down effect with ears hasn't worked.
This is the government's economic plans in disarray. In an attempt to calm the markets, Liz trusted a round of local radio interviews. As the interviews went out, the BBC received a flood of complaints from listeners having technical problems. A BBC spokesperson apologised for the long silences and unintelligible noises and said, "I'm afraid that's just how she speaks." The Labour Party also held their conference this week. The only discordant note came when Labour MP Rupa Huck described the Eton-educated Kwasi Kwarteng as being superficially black. Rupa Huck herself went to a fee-paying independent school, so I guess she's only superficially left-wing. In more cheerful news, the Royal Mint has now fixed a date for King Charles's head to go on the money, so look out for that on the new £1,000 coin. Ian and Ria, take a look at this.
This is the referendum, is it? Are they making shrouds? Oh, that's the troops who've been called up. Bye. You're not coming back. Oh, and this is fun. You're a murderer. No, you are.
So yes, what's going on?
They've had a referendum.
And these are the 4 regions that he currently kind of has some kind of military control over.
Well, he's basically saying these countries are now Russia. So if you send troops into what is now Russia, I can use the nuclear weapon. You know, which is comedy gold, really.
You're determined to cheer us up, aren't you?
It was an interesting canvassing technique, and certainly something the Lib Dems could do, is to send armed men to knock.
Yes, this is Putin's illegitimate land grab through a series of dodgy referendums in Ukraine. Germany's Olaf Scholz called them a sham. France's Emmanuel Macron called them a tragic parody. And Scotland's Nicola Sturgeon called them a perfectly legitimate attempt to break free from the shackles of an oppressive regime. How close was the vote?
99%.
99.23 in favour of joining Russia.
But that was in Donetsk. I think the votes were significantly lower in other regions. Some of them were as low as 98.
In a speech this week, Putin also said the referendum was a response to the West and Britain's attempts to destroy our country. It's an outrageous slur. We're perfectly busy enough destroying our own. He's ordered another 300,000 eligible men to be called up to fight. What's the response been?
Well, it's been awful. I mean, there was one wife who just said, "I will break both of my husband's legs to stop him going," and you go, both? You don't need to do both. Like, one would do it.
So 10,000 men signed up to fight in the first wave. That's been dwarfed by the estimated 194,000 people who fled Russia since the conscription was announced. While the Daily Mail has reported that one of the most Googled search terms in Russia this week has been how to break your own arm. Who did manage to get out of Russia this week?
Putin, he had a short break in Florida.
No, not Putin. No, 5 British prisoners.
Oh, yes, there was a prisoner swap.
Yeah, that's right. 5 British prisoners have been captured in Ukraine and have been freed. One was flown back to the UK on a private plane and is now at his sister's flat in Luton. So the ordeal is not entirely over yet. But who has decided they are not leaving Russia?
Oh, Putin?
Putin, exactly right. Yes, apparently he's worried about his approval ratings are being so low he could be ousted in a coup if he goes abroad. Russian expert Keir Giles told The Times, "If I were Putin, I would be cautious about taking holidays." Yeah, but have you seen how strong the ruble is these days?
Particularly against the pound.
What has Russia been accused of doing at sea this week?
Oh, blowing up the...
Yeah, the pipeline,
Pipes.
gas pipes.
You know, like, we have to question this. Like, who's going to benefit from that pipeline, which isn't being used from Russia to Germany, leaking loads of gas? I mean, have they checked the area for a British submarine with a suspiciously long siphon and a massive jerry can?
Why is the war in Ukraine causing this man problems?
He must be a Putin lookalike.
Exactly right, yes. It is Slavomir Sobola.
Sounds like a Labrador eating his dinner.
Sobola. Yes, he told the Mirror this week he'd been warned not to leave home and grow a moustache.
Can we just look at the picture again?
Yes, look at the picture again.
Why is he wearing black tie?
Queen.
Is he trying to get into the funeral?
From what unexpected quarter has Putin been getting criticism?
Trump.
Chomp.
Trump. He was president of the United States.
I remember.
In all the papers.
No, he's been criticised by the singer Alla Pugacheva.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yes, incredibly brave Russian pop singer.
That's right, she's known as the Russian Dolly Parton. Because if you open her up, there's a series of smaller, angrier singers. It's fun. Why might Pugacheva want to be careful about openly criticising the war in Ukraine?
Will you tend to fall out of a window shortly afterwards?
This is exactly the right answer, yes. Most people end up dead if they do that, including the oil oligarch Ravil Maganov, who was found dead after falling from a hospital window. Energy businessman Ivan Pechorin died after falling off a speeding boat. And another unnamed Russian billionaire recently fell down the stairs of his bungalow. What else have Russian people had enough of?
Apart from the war.
They have had enough of Russian TV. which, according to the Times, has been ordered by the Kremlin to remove entertainment shows in favour of endless state propaganda. That would never happen on our BBC. What British TV show has been proving popular in Russia recently?
Would I Lie to You?
This programme.
This morning, a recent clip from the show has been shown repeatedly in Russia as propaganda, an example of just how bad the energy crisis has become over here.
Oh, yeah.
Let us have a look.
Here we go. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. Da, 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 da. £1,000 or energy bill. £1,000 or energy bill. It is going to be. It's your energy bill.
I mean, if you think that's bleak, in round 2, the guy has to fight a blind boy for a bread roll.
I think the main problem was when they went to see the Queen lying in state, they took that big glittery wheel with them.
How many minutes do you want to mourn?
Yes, this is the latest from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to one newspaper, Putin's reservists have been told to pack tampons to soak up blood from bullet wounds. And in the event of a nuclear strike, a small tube of Ombre Solaire Factor 20. Russian state TV is beginning to give airtime to those sceptical about Putin's campaign, one of the most vocal critics being leading political figure Boris Nadezhdin, who very sadly died tomorrow. And so to round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Yes, Paul.
Right, this is it. NASA has built a ladder between the Earth and the asteroid, and they're sending people to climb up the ladder and hit the asteroid with tiny little hammers to direct the route away from the Earth to make sure it doesn't hit us.
Bang on.
Bang on. That's exactly what it was called. Bang on.
Yes, it is the news that NASA have got bored of flying satellites around things and have started smashing things into
Exactly.
stuff. Here is the actual impact as seen on the approach.
Yep. Oh, look at this. Have we got mood music to go with this?
Something from Classic FM. Here we
Yeah, go on in. Go on in. Oh, let's stop there for. Go on. Keep going. Good. Yes.
It's like a cup of tea's eye view of a biscuit.
A cup of tea's eye view.
Yeah.
We have a cup of tea.
Towards you.
Yeah, biscuit. Dunk.
Yeah.
Coming in for a dunk.
Am I the
Like a
biscuit?
hobnob.
Am I the biscuit or the cup of tea?
Where's the
You're
other?
neither.
Right.
Neither. We're just looking as if from the cup of tea.
Does look, yeah.
We are the cup of tea.
We are.
Right.
We are.
We're all in
There
the
it is.
cup
Look,
of tea.
there it is. There's the biscuit coming towards
We're
us.
the cup of tea with the biscuit coming towards.
Oh, it's a lovely biscuit.
Yeah.
Hobnob.
Wholemeal.
You work for NASA, do you?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Here is inspirational NASA spokesman Bill Nelson encapsulating the historic moment.
Hey, congratulations. Boy, the Dart team, you really did this one very well.
Well, if he's not an alien from another planet.
So the satellite itself is called DART. How long did it take the DART to hit the asteroid?
How long did it take to get there?
Yeah.
8 months.
So it was in orbit for 10 months, but at the end of its journey was able to travel at 4 miles a second, according to The Guardian, just as soon as it got clear of the congestion around Hanger Lane. How exactly does the DART work?
Well,
It's. Oh.
go on.
No. You've got the
Well, they
CPSC.
built a ladder.
Yes.
Tiny little hammers, and the vibrations of hammers make the asteroid. Well, essentially, you hit the asteroid just enough to just take it away from its orbit, and that's enough for it to. I mean, because it's millions of miles away, so even if you deflect it by a tiny degree, it means it will still miss us.
How did the NASA boffins put it in terms that we can understand?
It's like a cup of tea and a biscuit.
No, if only. If only they'd had those resources. No, they compared the strike to a golf cart crashing into one of the Great Pyramids.
Oh, see, DART weighs 610 kilograms. That's about the same size as an adult horse. We essentially threw a horse into space.
Actually, it's funny, sometimes when you plan these amazingly complex things, they just go wrong. I don't know, governments have that problem.
What was amazing is that they were able to accurately send it however many millions of miles into space, hit it where they wanted to hit it, and yet, when they were celebrating, they couldn't even make the high fives.
Here's another angle of this week's big crash. Anyway, well, the big question is, did it work?
Yes.
Too soon to say.
All right then.
Too soon to say. NASA say they will study the course of the asteroid.
Yes.
It's going to take them 2 years to study this.
Well, I told you in 5 seconds.
How else could you see the crash?
If you were on the asteroid?
Yes. You
Literally.
probably would. But no, you can see it. You'd see it through a telescope. Let's
That's
have a look.
Yes, they had some footage, didn't they? Yeah. There we go. Look at that. Should have some music going with that, really.
Oh, and look, it changed directions. Right.
I suppose it is exciting in its way.
How are the European Space Agency planning to top NASA?
2 darts.
They are, according to a
We
director...
don't care now, we're not in the EU. Why are we talking about it? We want to talk about British rockets.
Yes, there's one inside a milk bottle.
Yeah? We're just going to send an actual horse into space.
According to a director at the European Space Agency, they want to send a submarine to Jupiter, which would be nuclear-powered. Lucky we got out of the EU when we did. Now, this is the news that NASA now have the capability to deflect any large approaching asteroid and thus protect the world from being destroyed. Thanks to NASA's efforts, the Earth should now be safe from the threat of an asteroid strike, which is good news, especially as two enormous half-chunks of asteroid have suddenly appeared out of nowhere and are heading straight for us. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here is your next one. Yes.
Now, this is a lovely portrait of the Duke of Norfolk.
He was in charge of organising the funeral,
Yes, he
which
was.
went very well.
Yes,
And now he's in charge of organising Charles's coronation.
that's right, yeah.
But he's lost his driver's license.
According to the Times, he added 6 points to the 9 he already had for previous speeding offences when he was caught on the phone to his wife, driving through a red light and cutting across a police line.
But it was beautifully coordinated.
His car was being pulled by 142 sailors.
Why does being in charge of the coronation mean the Duke desperately needs his driving licence?
He needs it so he can drive between venues.
I mean, the truth is we don't know. We don't know why.
Because it was held in secret.
It was
We
held
weren't allowed
yes.
to see it.
Sentencing was done, the public were banned, media were banned, because of the secrecy around the plans for the coronation.
Apparently it's going to involve King Charles.
Meanwhile, what has King Charles unveiled this week?
Oh, his insignia.
He has his cipher.
His cipher.
That's it, here it is. Yes, unlike the Queen's St Edward's crown, it features the Tudor crown, which is an apparent nod to his grandfather George VI, who used it as a cipher as well. He also looked lovely on his slippers. What do we think? Do we like it?
Yes, lovely.
Does it remind us of anything?
No.
Ian?
It doesn't look anything like Ian.
Of the footballer Cristiano Ronaldo's crest? There we are.
Oh.
They are very similar, both very protective of their crown jewels. Which is... King Charles is famously sausage. Green-fingered.
What? Did you insert a sausage into King Charles?
But they've
Did you
named...
say sausage?
No,
King Charles is famously sausage.
That's what you said. King Charles is famously sausage.
green. I then corrected myself.
Green
It's much funnier when I
King
explain.
Charles has got a green sausage.
Yes, no, he's green-fingered.
Green-fingered.
They've named sausages after him, I guess, because of his hands, which really makes you wonder about King Charles II, because they named a whole spaniel after him. So what do his hands look like?
Anyway, what is King Charles? What are his plans for the gardens at Buckingham Palace now he's taken them over?
They're going to use the flowers that were laid for the Queen's funeral to put into compost, aren't they?
Yeah, that would be very sensible.
And then
recycling.
According to expert Chris Bonnet, the King may decide to modernise the palace's gardening techniques by using modern battery-powered tools. What royal dilemma is currently facing the Metropolitan Police? This is whether or not they should do anything about the Cash for Honours scandal.
Oh, yeah.
The investigation into a Saudi tycoon getting a CBE after donating 1.5 million to Charles's charity has become a little bit more complicated owing to the fact that he's now king.
He'll have to put himself at his own pleasure. That's
Something like that, it doesn't sound so bad.
Well, I hope he draws the curtains first.
Yes, according to the Sunday Times, 2 men were interviewed about the case last week by detectives belonging to the same unit that investigated Partygate. So they got the best men on the case.
The real wish that Liz Truss will end up as Queen.
What's the latest bad news for Harry and Meghan?
Is it the website?
Yes,
they were quite high on the royal family website. Now they're right at the bottom.
They're
with
right at
sort
the
of
bottom of the page.
Terms and conditions.
Let's You're pretty much right. Let's have a look. There we are. There we go, down the line of succession. And...
Duchess of Gloucester, Princess Royal, Duke of Gloucester.
And...
Oh, yeah, there they are.
Oh, they really are at the bottom.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, just above. Just above Prince Andrew, but below the Duke of Gloucester.
If you click on that, it takes you to a very specialist website.
The Duke of Gloucester, of course, famous for one particular thing.
Interested in and some people not, and it's slightly difficult to feign an interest.
And is this an insulating roof or is it... She's looking like that's the one question I wish you hadn't asked me.
Yes, this is the latest news from the world of royalty. The Duke of Norfolk has been banned from driving for using his phone while at the wheel and going through a red light. Here he is. Now, if one of those medals isn't the best hat, I'll be astonished. Also in the news this week, a rewilding scheme in the Isle of Wight was criticised by King Charles's former gardener, Simon Goodenough. Well, with hindsight, it was probably a mistake to replace him with Kevin Dattledoo. In other royal news, Prince George has reportedly told classmates, "My father is going to be king, so you'd better watch out." He'd been better off saying, "My great-uncle's Prince Andrew, so you'd better watch out." buzzers, teams. Here's the next one. Yes, but I'll pull them out.
It's a toilet.
Ian and Rhea, anything?
I think the quiz aims slightly higher than that. We don't know, is our answer.
It's this exciting news. The world's worst toilet has finally been discovered.
Where?
Chiswick.
Toilets in 100 different countries were scouted out and photographed in the hunt for the worst. Eventually, a privy in Tajikistan was crowned the worst public toilet in the world. Shall we have a look? Here it is.
It doesn't look that bad. Looks like British Fashion Week to me.
Well, apparently it also comes with the danger of disturbing deadly snakes and fearless rats, which have all made their homes in the nearby rocks. Graham Askey, a 58-year-old travel writer from Brighton, named this the world's worst toilet. Any guesses what the Daily Mail named him?
Columbus.
Yeah,
Columbus.
No.
Phileas Fogg.
Yes, absolutely spot on. That is superb. Phileas Fogg, very well done. What has...
I've used one worse than that when I was filming in China a long, long time ago. There was this sort of this ditch, essentially, and that's all it was, and you had to hover over this ditch. And there was a man there who was expecting to be tipped. He sat there with a bucket holding his hand out as you were using this ditch.
Do you have some aftershave? Give you a little spray as you went down the lolly.
I don't think it would have helped.
Sticking with explorers, what does wildlife presenter Chris Packham want you to buy this Christmas?
A bird?
No, he started selling wall calendars of different animals. Each month shows you a different animal accompanied by a delightful photo of its excrement in situ. And here is the promotional video for that.
Badger poo here. And don't be absurd, it's more than turd. This is packed full of scientific information. It smells good too.
Are you sure it's a calendar? We're not meant to eat this.
It's an advent calendar.
This is the story that the world's worst toilet has been found. Graham Askey travelled 75,000 miles to find a terrible toilet. I did that in a Wetherspoons once. Graham Askey left Heathrow to visit the toilet in Tajikistan. Little more than a glorified shithole. Heathrow is Britain's major airport. I better do that one again.
It's not that bad, actually.
Heathrow?
No, Tajikistan.
It's
quite nice.
No, of course you won't get a laugh the second time.
No, I won't.
No, he will.
I will. Everyone will pretend they've never heard it before.
Well, they haven't heard it properly, have they?
No. Graham Askey left Heathrow to visit the toilet in Tajikistan. Little more than a glorified shithole.
That's Heathrow for you. No time, lucky.
Do you think this question's got...
No, you don't need to do it. You've done it.
I don't know. We'll do it for fun.
Go in for fun. Yeah.
Graham Askey left Heathrow to visit the toilet in Tajikistan. Little more than a glorified shithole. Heathrow is Britain's major airport. Which means at the end of this round...
Hang on a minute. If they use that take, it's going to be very odd for the people at home going, why do those people in the audience hate Heathrow so much?
Which means at the end of this round, it is 3 points each.
Where have I heard that
Very
before?
exciting. Level. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Your four are Tom Cruise, Arnold Schwarzenegger, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, and Tesco.
Is Tom Cruise repelling or trying to touch Arnold Schwarzenegger there?
Oh, I wonder.
Okay, here's my educated guess.
Yeah.
Tesco's motto is every little helps, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's the South Korean president, so he's probably on average quite little. Tom Cruise we know is quite little. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not little.
Did you say that was an educated guess?
Yes.
That's on a level with the Chancellor.
Tom Cruise is the odd one out.
Why would he be the odd one out, do you think? It's to do with people putting their foot in it?
He's the only one who's not put his foot in it. The others have insulted people, and he's not insulted anybody.
I'll give you that. They have all offended people abroad, apart from Tom Cruise, who complimented people. Whom did Tom Cruise compliment?
Oh, he likes us. He likes
Yes, absolutely. He likes the British. Cruise told Derbyshire Life magazine that he's a big fan of the UK because everyone is pleasant and will give you a nod or say hello without crowding you. Hasn't been to London, then. What incredible stunts has Tom Cruise been doing while he's been filming in the UK for his latest Mission Impossible?
Running. He's been doing some running.
He has attempted a parachute jump in the Lake District.
Attempted?
What, yeah?
He's been flying planes on Teesside and moved a full-size train from one side of Derbyshire to the other.
That's phenomenal, a train that moves.
What might British cows think of Tom Cruise? Why would they perhaps take a dim view of him?
Because he keeps sneaking underneath them and milking them.
No. While filming in the British countryside, crews used an anti-drone device whose high frequency caused an entire field of cows to collapse in confusion. Tom Cruise says he loves being in the UK. Here he is at the Platinum Jubilee celebration. Of course, ordinary fans have to queue for hours for a selfie with Tom. It's a lovely photograph, that, isn't it? Do you imagine Phil Schofield is crouching? Or is Tom on a little step?
He's sitting on Holly's shoulders.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol offended American politicians this week. How?
You're all thickos, he said.
Yeah, kind of. Mr. Yoon was caught on mic in New York using a Korean swear word to criticise Republican members of the US Congress who wouldn't back President Biden. The BBC reported that it could be translated to mean idiots, the Times went with bastards, and The Guardian went for fuckers. What was Yoon's excuse for using the expletive?
It's true.
Miss Yoon's office told reporters that he'd been referring to his own countries. Hasn't really thought that one through, has he?
Yeah.
A White House official said that after hearing the South Korean president swear, Joe Biden was shaken, but still didn't wake up. And now to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He offended the people of Birmingham. How did he do that?
Did he try and do the accent?
Failed to show up to his own fitness festival in the city, angering fans who, according to the Mirror, had paid £500 for a meet and greet with the star. Finally, how has Tesco offended Spanish people?
That paella sandwich.
Sandwich is exactly right, yes. The Spanish...
Paella sandwich, nice, yeah. All the carbs.
Yes, the Spanish police force tweeted that was a health hazard and accused the supermarket chain of heresy.
Did you say the Spanish police?
Yes.
No one expects them.
What else has Tesco announced that they're starting this week? This is exciting. They are giving members of the public the opportunity to audition to be the new voice of their self-service checkout.
Why are you looking at Ian?
Don't you? Well, just thinking.
Obvious choice.
Ian.
I'd
I mean,
love
you're
to
awake
do that.
man.
There's something in the bagging area.
I think you've just got the job.
Do you have a loyalty card?
In a recent opinion poll on politicians, who did the British public say was most likely to eat a Tesco meal deal for their lunch?
Oh, Jacob Rees-Mogg.
No.
Gentlemen's relish with pate.
Sunday Times reported this in the survey. Most people said Liz Truss would have a Tesco meal deal, while they said Rishi Sunak would have something fancy like sushi or a stable economy. Yes, they have all offended people abroad, apart from Tom Cruise, who complimented people. Tom Cruise says he loves being in the UK, adding, "I like the fact that I'm walking the same streets as Shakespeare and Dickens." Well, if you're a fan of Dickensian Britain, Tom, stick around. Time now for Missing Words Round, which this week features as its guest publication, Flagmaster, the magazine dedicated to the study of flags. One of the world's best flag magazines, according to several polls. And we start with Queen's English may be changed to what?
Queen was English.
Queen Consort's English.
Queen's English may be changed to English in it. This is the news that, according to the Times, the Queen's English Society is considering changing its name to English in it.
This is a story in the Times, Matt. Is it at all true?
Yes.
Other things to be renamed are QCs and Queen's Guard, although it doesn't matter what you call HMRC because you'll never get through to them anyway. Next, new houses being built with bars across windows to stop what?
New houses being built with bars across windows to stop people having uninterrupted views.
It's to stop tall people falling out of them, like the Russians. This week, the Telegraph revealed that house builders are being forced to adopt the measures by concerned civil servants. The regulations leave developers with three options: make windows smaller, make houses taller, insert metal bars across the windows. Isn't that a prison? Next, one writer for Flagmaster spent a month what?
With his trousers at half-mast.
One writer for Flagmaster spent a month going through archives to see if the Taliban were using a new font on their flag.
Would have been a long time getting that, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
This is the news that the Taliban may have changed the font on their flag. I tell you, it's just one thing after another with these guys. Next, 999 called after what spotted in a branch of Greg's?
I actually know what it is. It's the best story of the week. Red squirrel is the answer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah?
Yes, red squirrel.
What was he doing?
He was stuck in a steak bake like that.
This week, a red squirrel was spotted in the Pitlochry branch of Greg's. Here he is.
He's a bit transparent, isn't he?
Next, neighbours complain after what? 146 times in half an hour.
Neighbors complain after interest rates went up 146 times.
Classic FM plays Marriage of Figaro.
No, you're never more than 15 minutes away from the Lark Ascendant on Classic FM.
It is after woman's roosters crow. This is Jess Mason from Huddersfield, whose 7 cockerels have been terrorising their neighbours. Normally, if you're woken up by a cock first thing in the morning, it means you're listening to breakfast radio. Next. Babies in the womb grimace at what and smile when what?
Babies in the womb grimace at prospects of paying VAT on luxury goods and smile when they realise it's some way away.
Is it food related? Peas.
Babies in the womb grimace at peas.
Yes, and smile when...
Offered cauliflower.
Yeah.
Babies in the womb grimace at kale. And smile when they taste carrots. The study involved making pregnant women eat capsules of powdered kale, giving us a great insight into what it might look like when a woman in her 3rd trimester kicks someone's head in. It took 2 years, 24 attempts, and a Devon schoolboy to what?
To work out that equals 1 attempt a month.
It is to design the RAF flag. According to the article, the designs for the RAF's flags were taken to the King for approval. He was about to sketch out a few changes, but at the last minute there was a problem with a stinking pen. And finally, women told to save the planet by what?
By Tuesday.
Women told to save the planet by having nothing to do with men.
I might give you that one, yes.
It's to do with meat. Is it sex?
By not having sex with men who barbecue.
Not having sex with meat.
That's right. This week, an animal rights group have blamed environmental problems on stereotypical men who barbecue, calling on women to punish them by refusing to have sex with them. They're allowed to kiss, but no tongs. So the final scores are 3 to Ian and Rhea, and Paul and Matt have 9. But just before we go, there's time for the caption competition.
Low budget Lord of the Rings.
Garden of Eden. Eve, you let yourself go.
On which note we say thank you to our panellists Ian Hislop and Rhea Lena, Paul Merton and Matt Chorley, and I leave you with news that as the Labour Party conference comes to a close in Liverpool, Keir Starmer regrets trying to match Angela Rayner drink for drink in an all-nighter at Fusion nightclub. In Milan, at the launch of a new range of swimsuits, one of Christian Dior's models realises that a 3-bean salad wasn't perhaps the best idea for lunch. And as Liz Truss's problems mount and another leadership election seems inevitable, there's dismay in almost every corner of Westminster. Good night.